So, here we are with the third part of my video response to Kidology's long video. So, I am actually going to do things a little bit differently, right? Because I was actually able to have a conversation with Kidology. I think it was a great conversation. However, I definitely feel that there's some more stuff that needs to be discussed. Hopefully, I'll be able to chat with her more often. Maybe even bring her over to my channel here. So I want to make this video here to one, kind of direct you guys to that conversation so you guys can see, and also add a little bit of finality to the response as well. It's not fair to just, promise 3 parts and then just not do it because, it's not like I've ever done that before. Okay, look, I have done that before, and I want to try to make sure I complete my video series from now on. So, what I was doing earlier today was recording some audio because I didn't think I'd have time to record my face, and so I'm going to be playing the audio clips I recorded, which would be a summary of what I was going to discuss, and then kind of bring it back here and just explain what my overall point was, my overall themes, and in the response. So I'm just gonna play the audio because I'm not going to record what I said again, and we'll take it from there. So let's summarize the first point that I was attempting to make in my video response, and that is the user error of people on dating apps. Kidology doesn't like the way dating apps are designed for only focusing on the physical attractiveness and a short little text bio of someone. My response would be this seems more like a form of evolution. Yes, I'm using that word correctly. Or adaptation, more accurately, to the way that women are mate selecting rather than it's the dating app's fault. I actually think that this is more reflective of the people using the app than the app itself, because what Kidology has chosen to do more is to abandon the platform wholesale rather than try to make a way for it to work. And that's kind of one of the things that I want to suggest and I wanted to talk about probably in the future is how do we make these dating apps work and how much responsibility is put on the person who is swiping through. And if you're swiping through a bunch of profiles and the only thing you're focusing on is the way they look, then that's you ignoring the fact that there's a bio attached to it or there isn't a bio attached to it. And that would be the person that is on the app that's making the choice to only use it in that way. And it's also your choice on what you find attractive, what you don't. I know a lot of people love to say that they don't have choice there, but I'll probably have to make a video where I definitely, positively, 100% debunk that, because I do not think that it is true at all, that we are just slaves to our lizard brains and we can only find one particular thing attractive. That's silly. Anyhow, gonna save that for another video. Point is, dating apps are applications, they're tools, and it's up to the person who's using the tool to use it effectively. If they're not, then we have to evaluate what the people on the apps are doing and how can we make it work. Now, the next point I need to summarize is that young ladies have a number of real-world options that is still greater than the ones that young men have. Because Kidology suggests that there's some similarities between femcels and incels in the conversation that we were having. But one thing I kind of wanted to point out that I didn't really get into a lot of detail about is how the differences in causes can create similar effects. So it's a roundabout way of saying, essentially, well, actually, I think this will be the more roundabout way of saying it. But what keeps femcels single and lonely isn't the same thing that keeps the incels or the male variety of them single and lonely. And that is, women have a cornucopia of different options that they can use, but decide to not use them for this or that reason, while incels have very few to no options at all. So as a young lady, you can go into card shops, you can go into a lot of different areas in society because you're viewed as less of a threat, especially if you're average looking to cute. And definitely if you're beautiful, obviously you got pretty privilege. But, there's a lot more leeway you have in society to engage in new environments and talk to new people that a lot of young men don't really have. Interestingly enough, there's an interesting catch-22 where a lot of young women I've had conversations with want young men to approach them still, but only if they're, well, obviously attractive. And if they're not, then they become dangerous again and they want to avoid them. So as a young lady, there's a lot more you can do
that young men can do in this area. So even though the effectiveness of like not having the options you want leaves you lonely, you still have options, which is just a different problem than a young man who has no options and may sometimes even be viewed as a threat. So now with those points summarized, let's go into a little bit of the final points she was making in her video. One thing I'm going to do a little bit differently is include the points I actually agree with, because I think that they are good points and I can probably sprinkle a little bit of salt and pepper onto them. But also so you guys can understand like where I'm coming from. So let's start with this point here. I actually agree with this.
Our sexual market value. The truth of the matter is that men and women will never find love if they place a market value on it. And I think this is the issue with our age, in which it has brought the market into the domain of love. And that doesn't make any sense. It is an inherent contradiction, because a relationship with a significant other is one that is really not based in a lot of reality. It's really a relationship with somebody where there's absolutely no guarantee of success. There's no guarantee whatsoever that they'll come back the next day. There's absolutely nothing, no guarantee that you can trust them, aside from you having faith in them. It's kind of like the relationship which individuals have with God or with some kind of religious deity. There is faith, and this is something that St. Augustine writes very interestingly about, that we have doubts, but ultimately we have to let faith prevail and trump everything else.
I have sprinkled this point throughout many of my videos, kind of like over the years, definitely in the recent last 2 years, that having a relationship is about trust and faith and ignorance, and just kind of having the confidence or having the belief that things are going to work out pretty well. I know I've included definitely a few clips from my man Elliot Hulse over and over again on this point. I know I've definitely talked about confidence means with faith, con with fidens, coming from the root fidelity, trust. To have confidence means to have trust in something. So, and trust is something that honestly can't be earned as much as it has to be given. You have to have that belief, sometimes in absence of evidence that something's going to work out. That is part of what I would honestly say makes intimacy in a relationship beautiful, and what makes it so painful when the person betrays you. Definitely. So I agree with this 100%. I think people have absolutely 100% tried to make dating a market when it's not a market. I've seen people make this point about marriage, and in fact, Kidology is about to make this in her next video. I'm sorry, not in her next video, in her next point. And that is that marriage is a business arrangement. In fact, I just saw someone say that the other day. I was watching a podcast, and I was like, you're incredibly wrong about that. And what business arrangement do you vow to be with this person until you die, forever? And what business arrangement do you say, I will be with you whether we have a lot of money or whether we're poor? And what business arrangement is it consummated through sexual intimacy? Marriage isn't a business arrangement. It's a vow and a promise that you are making to stay with someone until you die. It's something that is very heavy-handed and very important. And I think too many people have commodified relationships to a point where they don't recognize that there is something, honestly, just a bit intangible about faith and love and acceptance and putting it into another person. And mostly a huge chunk of that comes from the fact that people don't want to be hurt. I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of people dealt with trauma and pain, and they don't want to deal with that. And I think that what's important more than anything else is trying to figure out what made it work with our ancestors. So let's get on to Kidology's next point.
This idea that we can find guarantors and guarantees that somebody is not going to, for instance, cheat on us, that we can trust somebody, but that trust is not based in faith in that individual. Trust is no longer bedfellows with faith, but rather with skepticism. Editing me again. I think it's also important to note something that we often take for granted in our modern age, which is that marriage and starting relationships from a place basis of want, of attraction, desire, and also personal choice is a very, very recent thing. Marriage and relationships based on love and romance is a very recent phenomena in the West. This was really not the case until roughly the late 19th century. Previously, especially for aristocratic arrangements, there was a clear market, but it also was a highly exclusive and confined one. There weren't as many people nor choice, especially when we consider now we have globalization, we have the internet and social media, which makes the scope of possibility endless. And it's very interesting because it feels as if now dating apps are trying to marry the new with the old. Our new love-based and romance-based forming of relationships and marriages with the old, very market-based arrangement sort of shtick. Yep.
So now I'm going to use the clip I had pre-recorded because I don't want to say all this over again.
Now, lots of people like to say that, but then it's actually rather funny because I was going to record this clip before we moved on to the next one, and then she proved my point spectacularly. People look at the aristocracy, the Europeans' aristocracy, and then they see marriage being used as a tool. However, the peasantry, people lower, beneath them, they did not operate like that. You can actually go back and if we were to, again, remove European aristocracy, and let's say we just move over to the Americas, we can find with the Pilgrims, you can find with the settlers there was a lot of mixing and matching of these ideas. In some places, they were buying and kind of selling and trading Native American wives. This is true, that were slaves. Sometimes you have slave owners who they wouldn't marry their slaves usually. I think there might be a case of that once or twice, but typically that wasn't the case. But you would find free slaves then finding themselves marrying other free slaves. Again, this is not a union made of status and stature and trading resources. It's a union of two people who, I would imagine, love each other and care about each other. You'd also find, again, that African slaves would find themselves in relationships with Native Americans sometimes after they'd been freed. The truth of the matter is, we look at marriage as a political tool because we're always looking at the top and the apex and we're seeing how it's operating there. But the reality is, throughout a huge chunk of human history, even within that framework of European stuff, it was not as simple as just having arranged marriages everywhere and that no one had any choice and people weren't actually making decisions to marry people. That also still doesn't really even matter technically. I'll tell you why. Because even if you go back about just 3 generations removed from us, or even just 2 generations to our grandparents, you will find that they themselves had the opportunity and the choice to pick people. And what did they do? Not the bullshit we're doing. So even just 20 years removed, you don't need to look into ancient history to understand and see that love and choice in marriages was a thing that always happened. Even if we just take it back to a decade ago, these people did not operate in this swinger manner that we're doing now. You can look at the different cultural changes most certainly. You can explain it with feminism, the sexual revolution, birth control, a lack of religion or religiosity in people's upbringing, or the fact that religiosity has been heavily criticized. And so many of the different principles that would work objectively are now thrown into question and sometimes used as an oppositional thesis to a lot of people that want to remove themselves from religion at all. That's a gigantic, complex topic now, isn't it? The long and short of it is, it's too simplistic to say that it's just been this recent time when we're finally marrying each other for love and want and desire. That's not technically true. And even what's even more true is even if you go back to previous generations of people who are still married after they themselves made the choice to be married, and we ask how that worked functionally, you're going to find that it did not work because they had a whole bunch of sex with people they really didn't like repeatedly until they finally got tired of it. Again, culturally, it's definitely going to be different from the way our grandparents operated. It's going to be different from not just the way our grandparents operated in one area, but to another area. The long and short of it is, this conversation is far too complex to sit here and just say, this was too recent and we don't know what to do. That's not true at all. What we should be doing is talking to people that have made this work functionally and emulate the different things that have helped them out. Unfortunately, for some odd reason, lots of people, they don't want to do that.
So the grand takeaway with this point here, more than anything else, is that we should probably start spending a little bit of time trying to reverse engineer and understand how a lot of marriages that are functional works instead of lamenting the fact that we don't live in that current time period anymore. I think that considering the fact that older generations of people are still alive and there are people that have failed, we can learn from those failures, from one, and for two, we can learn from the successes, and we can actually start trying to apply this in our lives. That's a huge theme that I try to maintain on this channel that I'm just now voicing directly. Let's continue.
Obviously, this is all for profit making. And I think in what dating apps are trying to do, which is just for money, we are caught up in the middle of it. And we are all trying to navigate the rules, the regulations. We're all trying to beat the game, a game that is never meant to be beat. And we also have to deal with things that we otherwise never had to as human beings, such as social media, and therefore the expansion of avenues and very ambiguous avenues of what infidelity is, such as following Instagram models or posting very explicit photographs of yourself for followers or for money, those sorts of things. Discussions which as a society we've never had, and I think is very difficult to really put parameters around, especially when we are all so very distrusting of each other. And so when you put all of that into a dating app, people who don't trust each other, people who see dating as a game and therefore are trying to find very superficial, generalized ways of understanding how to play the game. And inevitably, with any game, there have to be more losers than winners. It's obviously going to end up that way. Dating apps were not created to benefit women or to benefit or disadvantage men. They were created to make money and to make profit. And it's a lot easier to do that from men when men, just sexually speaking, are far more sexual and men are visual creatures. That's a quote from Michael Scott. When, as our society knows, it is difficult for men to approach women in person, and therefore the easier alternative is to sit on dating apps and try to get with girls, as opposed to actually putting yourself out there in the world, really investing time and money and inevitable failure in some cases into doing things like volunteering, going to bars, going to events, actually having to develop a personality and a persona and just all these different things.
The thing is, ultimately, Kidology and I agree on a good bit of stuff. I think where we really split the differences in our understanding of, like, I would even say her inceldom and the inceldom of, like, plenty of other men, which, because it's obligatory, I have to say that incel is a stupid word, but, you know. What splits the difference, and the overall point that I wanted us all to walk away from the video series, is that young ladies have a lot more power than a lot of them like to acknowledge. Kidology is not a big fan of online dating, which you'll see if you go watch, you know, the live stream for one, and just in general, the main theme of a lot of what she was discussing in the original video anyway was her basically discounting it. However, even if we don't have online dating as a metric or dating apps as a tool or forum for young ladies to use, withholding whether or not we actually try to make them functional and work, young women still have a lot of benefits socially, of which they can just walk up and talk to young men. Again, they might be rejected, as young men would, but they do have a much larger avenue and a much larger net to even attempt to cast, considering the fact that, well, men like women, I'm sorry to say. Or, wait, why would I be sorry about that? So, when it comes to the last clip that I was showing you guys, as a more direct response, it's important to note that we can't really blame the internet for this one. We have to, and this is where me and Kidology split off, and we'll have to have more discussions about, start putting some more responsibility on women. And a lot of people really wig out on that. I don't know why it's really hard for people to grasp that. I really don't get it. I don't know, maybe the brainwashing from the social engineers, there we go, probably have definitely made a lot of people afraid to, you know, criticize, women. However, if we're going to be honest, one of the reasons why a lot of men probably go on to online dating from start to finish is probably because in their real personal lives, they weren't able to find the relationships that they want. Kidology kind of strikes them down as not being able to generate their own, you would say, hobbies or personalities. But in reality, it's probably a little bit not that extreme. And you also have to compound the fact that not only is it that it's difficult to find people to relate to and talk to off rip, there's a huge effort from a lot of young women to demonize men from just cold approaching from start to finish. If we go back, say, a couple of years ago, I say a couple, it's a few, of walking down New York for 10 hours as a woman, where all the dudes legitimately just shouted out pleasantries and just called the woman attractive, besmirching that, to even women besmirching dudes from having a bad set. There was one clip I saw where the dude it was awful, it was terrible, it was legit a bad set, where he was trying to get the girl's number. She recorded him, put him on TikTok, put him on blast. Legitimately, that can happen. That can legitimately happen. And so there's a lot of, I'm going to be honest with you, pressure against men from cold approaching women that you just kind of have to be, dare I would say, head ass about, and have to value wanting to find a woman over all the different social problems that can occur with cold approaching. So with online dating, where everyone should be close to the same page, maybe not as far as the duration of the relationship, but on the same page that sexuality is included here, it's a much safer alternative that's very clear. Of course, the problem is for young men, we find that women are a lot more shallow than they lead us on to be. Now, Kidology, if you guys go ahead and watch the live stream, will find that Kidology is not as shallow as I would say most women are. If I believe her, which I do, I legitimately do believe her, call me what you want, but I do think, based on her consistency, I do trust her. However, I would have to say that she's a bit special here, and to really broadcast this issue, a lot of young women are incredibly shallow, and they're shallow without recognition that they're so shallow, and they're shallow without recognition that what they're asking for is a bit much a lot of the time. The reality is, like, the more you start adding on to things that you want in standards, the narrower and narrower, like, whatever pigeonhole you want becomes, and it becomes difficult to date. A lot of women, they would rather die alone than settle with men, which honestly should be its own video dissertation unto itself. The long and short of it is, online dating isn't really the problem. The problem is the user base. That goes to the young men who are on there, just the sheer amount of them, and the young ladies that aren't using what has been given to them effectively. That is the main theme of what I wanted to come across and what I wanted to talk about. The truth of the matter is, there are numerous different elements of society that are making cold approaching or approaching women and finding people in meat markets more difficult, as well as the form of online dating, or rather the method of online dating with dating apps such as Tinder, Bumble, and even Hinge to a lesser extent, is mostly very shallow and not really conducive to deep, meaningful relationships that a lot of women, according to Kidology, really want to have. The reality is, young women have to become more active in repairing the damage here, because they can't be passive, because they're the one that holds all the cards. If they want to sit around and be approached, they have to make environments more comfortable to be approached. That would include from creepazoids, and they have to deal with that. If you keep splashing onto the whole of the world that men are creepazoids by default, when really it just means that they're unattractive, men are not going to be too privy, or men are not going to want to deal with, or not going to want to risk any type of social rejection or any type of literal legal action, because there was a story in the UK where that legitimately happened. Men don't want to risk that. I mean, for anything, just to be told no for the most part, and at worst be put on TikTok and then put on blast. You might be able to get a yes, and the reality is, I'm going to be honest with you guys, you're probably more often than not going to get a no than you really are going to get anything. But there's also something else that's really important to recognize, and that is the fact that you are asking young men to constantly be rejected, as if that's not going to put a burden on them at some point in time. And that is something that incels are absolutely feeling. And not just incels, honestly, a lot of men generally feel the burning sting of constant rejection. It's a little absurd. Definitely going to need a video dissertation on that as well. In conclusion, Kidology, young ladies in general, you guys have a lot of power, and sometimes I'm in awe of just like how much power you guys have, but you guys don't recognize it and you don't realize it. I wanted to make this video make these videos to really point out just how much power and control young ladies have when it comes to the dating market. You guys are not as powerless as you make it out to be. The issue is, if you can't see the value in lots of the young men that you're courting, you have to start reevaluating yourself. You can't just keep saying that all of the young men are terrible, or all the young men just want to have sex with you, or all the young men are this or that and one or the other. You're going to have to start and say, wait a minute, some women are successful, but I'm not. What are the women that are successful doing that I'm not doing? And really deep dive and really analyze what's going on. Is it as skin deep as they're just attractive and I'm not? Probably friggin' not. There has to be something more complex put in here. In conclusion, the problems that make a femcel are not the problems that make an incel. Femcells are femcells because of the choices that they make. Incels are incels because of the choices that women make. So that being said, I sure hope you guys got something out of today's video. And if you did, click the like button. Yeah, shoot, go and click that subscribe button. Comment in the comment box below. And as always, you guys have yourselves a great day. I'll see you cool cats soon. Adios.